Imagine the endless, mindless scroll, the rapid, hypnotic blur of your social media feed, bright lights, fleeting trends, and a barrage of disconnected information. Then, suddenly, the chaotic noise stops. An ethereal, calming frequency fills the background, and a serene but authoritative voice breaks through the silence. This message is not to be skipped. It is the one they chose for you specifically. We have all been there, late at night, exhausted from the day's demands, perhaps feeling a little lost or undervalued. You stumble upon a video that seems to peer directly into your soul. It tells you that your physical exhaustion is actually a sign of profound spiritual awakening. It reassures you that your unseen enemies are being vanquished by guardian angels, and that a grand, undeniable destiny is realigning your very DNA. But let us pause, step back from the comforting warmth of the screen, and ask a rational question. Why do millions of people, including deeply logical, educated, and grounded individuals, willingly halt their lives to consume this? Why do we scroll down to the comment section to obediently type "Amen," desperately claim a 777 blessing, or even pull out our credit cards to send a financial donation to a completely anonymous, faceless channel? The answer is both fascinating and deeply unsettling. What you are experiencing in those moments is not a serendipitous alignment of the cosmos, nor is it a personalized spiritual miracle. It is a masterclass in behavioral psychology. It is a perfectly calibrated, algorithmic marketing machine, meticulously engineered to target the most vulnerable blind spots of the human mind. Welcome to the dark side of the online healing industry, a multi-million-dollar space where your trauma, your hopes, and your insecurities are commodified. In this comprehensive breakdown, we are going to pull back the curtain on this modern phenomenon. We will navigate the labyrinth of spiritual marketing by dissecting the four core pillars of its operation. First, we will explore the psychological illusions like cold reading that make these mass-produced scripts feel so intimately accurate. Next, we will uncover the architecture of ego stroking, revealing how these videos manufacture invisible enemies to exploit your defense mechanisms. Then, we will break down the hypnotic linguistic techniques designed to bypass your critical thinking and logical reasoning. Finally, we will expose the ultimate commercial endgame, how your emotional vulnerability is systematically harvested to feed an algorithmic business model designed purely for profit. Imagine sitting alone in a dimly lit room, the only light spilling from your phone screen. A video plays with a sweeping, ambient soundtrack, and a confident, authoritative voice makes a startlingly specific claim. It tells you that you have been waking up with unexplained stiffness in your back. It notes that your eyes sometimes water without sadness, and that your legs suddenly feel heavy and exhausted. Your breath catches. A chill runs down your spine. How could they possibly know that? You haven't posted about your physical exhaustion online. You haven't complained to anyone about your restless sleep. Yet, an anonymous voice on the internet is detailing your bodily sensations with terrifying accuracy. This is the exact moment the trap snaps shut. It is the fragile threshold where a casual viewer transforms into a devoted believer. But before attributing this pinpoint accuracy to the cosmos or guardian angels, we must dismantle one of the oldest psychological tricks in the book: cold reading. In the traditional world of psychics and fortune tellers, cold reading requires observing a client in real time. The practitioner relies on body language, clothing choices, and micro-expressions to make high-probability guesses. But how does a content creator apply this technique to millions of faceless viewers through a screen? The answer is brilliantly insidious. They weaponize human biology and universal physical experiences. The architects behind these spiritual marketing scripts cast a massive, invisible net woven from the most common physiological ailments of modern life. Look at the symptoms highlighted in the narrative: sudden chills, heavy limbs, watery eyes, and unexplained muscle stiffness. Statistically speaking, if you gather 10 random adults and ask if they have recently experienced a stiff back or random bouts of fatigue, at least 8 of them will nod in agreement. The true manipulative genius lies in how the script redefines the mundane. It takes a completely normal biological reaction like poor posture from scrolling on a phone or eye strain from blue light and wraps it in a glittering, mystical package. Suddenly, your morning backache is no longer a medical issue. It is the result of angels stretching their fingers across your back while you sleep, marking you with unseen symbols. Your watery eyes are not a sign of fatigue, but proof that your spiritual sight is adjusting to a dimensional shift. Digital cold reading does not predict your future. It merely validates your present by elevating ordinary discomfort into evidence of divine selection. But why do we so desperately want to believe that these generalized statements are uniquely tailored to us? To understand this cognitive blind spot, we have to revisit a classic psychological experiment conducted in 1948 by Bertram R. Forer. Forer gave his psychology students a personality test. A week later, he handed each student a personalized psychological profile, supposedly based on their specific test results. He asked them to rate the accuracy of the profile on a scale of 0 to 5. The average score was an astonishing 4.26. The students were amazed, convinced the professor had peered directly into their souls. The trick: every single student received the exact same paragraph. The text was filled with vague, universally flattering statements, such as, "You have a great deal of unused capacity which you have not turned to your advantage," or, "At times you are extroverted, affable, sociable, while at other times you are introverted, wary, and reserved." This cognitive bias became known as the Forer effect, or the Barnum effect, named after P.T. Barnum, the legendary circus showman who famously declared, "We've got something for everyone." The human brain is, by its very nature, a meaning-making machine. We are biologically hardwired to seek out patterns and forge connections, even where none exist. When a spiritual video delivers a vague but emotionally resonant statement, like surviving unacknowledged pain or navigating secret betrayals, your brain kicks into overdrive. It automatically scours your memory banks, pulls up your most painful breakups, your hidden struggles, and your unspoken grievances, and actively projects them onto the script. The video is not reading your mind. It is simply handing you an empty picture frame. Your brain does the heavy lifting, painting your deepest traumas onto that blank canvas until the narrative feels perfectly tailored to your life. You are essentially reading your own mind, but granting all the credit to an anonymous algorithm. Recognizing the mechanics of this illusion is one thing, but it leads to a much darker question: why do we completely drop our defenses? Why do intelligent, rational people surrender their critical thinking to an AI voice layered over stock footage of galaxies and waterfalls? The answer lies in the blatant exploitation of human vulnerability. These scripts are not targeting people who are having a fantastic, fulfilling day. The algorithm is specifically designed to push this content toward and is actively sought out by individuals going through profound stress, isolation, grief, or aimlessness. When you are in a state of emotional despair, your neurological hierarchy shifts. The prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for logic, skepticism, and critical analysis, is dampened. In its place, the limbic system, the emotional center that desperately craves safety, comfort, and reassurance, takes the wheel. When you are hurting, you do not want an objective truth. You want a life raft. If you feel entirely invisible in your daily life, unappreciated at work, or abandoned in your relationships. A video that looks at you and whispers that heaven is multiplying your blessings in the background provides a massive, intoxicating hit of dopamine. It is the perfect emotional anesthetic. The creators driving this industry understand that fragility. They know that when a soul is starving, it will gladly swallow a stone, if you convince them it is bread. By masking statistical probabilities as prophecy and packaging universal human suffering as a personalized hook, this industry ensures that you don't just watch the video, you feel indebted to it. And that profound sense of gratitude is exactly what they need to set up their next, most devastating psychological trap. Once the algorithm has successfully hooked your attention by validating your physical symptoms and unspoken emotional pain, the cold reading phase, it faces a new challenge. It needs to bind you to its narrative. It needs your absolute loyalty. And historically, whether in politics, cults, or digital marketing, the most effective way to forge unbreakable loyalty is to invent a common enemy. If you listen closely to the linguistic structure of these spiritual videos, you will notice a sudden shift from comforting validation to alarming paranoia. The soothing voice abruptly introduces a threat. A woman tried to cast energy on your body 3 nights ago, holding a glass of water. Or it warns of a man who thought he could manipulate your body energy through dreams. This is not an accident. It is a calculated hijacking of your brain's amygdala, the primal center responsible for the fight or flight response. By introducing an invisible, malicious force that is actively plotting against you, the script triggers a mild state of anxiety. You suddenly feel vulnerable. And when human beings feel vulnerable, they instinctively seek a protector. Right on cue, the video positions itself speaking on behalf of Archangel Michael, or the universe, as your divine shield. Notice how perfectly vague these enemies are. It is never a specific, named individual. It is always a woman who smiles in front of you, someone in your family line, or a stranger passing by. This intentional ambiguity is brilliant. It allows your brain to act as a casting director. You will automatically project the face of your annoying coworker, your toxic ex-partner, or a critical relative onto these shadowy villains. The video validates your real-life interpersonal grievances and inflates them to cosmic proportions. You are no longer just dealing with everyday drama, you are the target of spiritual warfare. To balance out the fear it just induced, the script immediately deploys its most potent neurochemical weapon: extreme, relentless ego-stroking. If you are the target of dark magic and envious attacks, it must be because you possess something incredibly valuable, right? The video answers this with resounding affirmation. It elevates you from a stressed, ordinary human being navigating a difficult world into a supernatural entity. You are told that your body holds a divine code passed from your ancestors, that your tears hold purification properties, and that your very breath carries a breakthrough. Psychologically, this is known as compensating for powerlessness. Let's face the reality: the modern world can be incredibly alienating. Many of the people targeted by these algorithms feel undervalued in their jobs, unappreciated in their relationships, or trapped in circumstances beyond their control. When reality makes you feel small, insignificant, and powerless, a video that looks you in the virtual eye and declares you the chosen one is intoxicating. It provides a massive rush of dopamine. Suddenly, your real-world struggles are reframed. You aren't failing to connect with people. Your frequency is just too high for them. You aren't experiencing isolation. You are establishing sacred distance. By telling the viewer that others are intimidated by their glow, or that unseen kings and queens stand in reverence when they walk by, The script provides the ultimate psychological escape hatch. It offers a delusion of grandeur so comforting that the brain desperately wants to accept it as absolute truth. While this flattery might seem like harmless escapism, it masks a deeply dangerous psychological trap, the mutation of toxic positivity. This is where the script crosses the line from manipulative marketing into active harm. These videos systematically reframe actual mental, emotional, and physical health issues as spiritual upgrades. Are you feeling suddenly exhausted, heavy-legged, or experiencing random aches in your spine? The video insists it is not medical fatigue. It is angelic reinforcement or your body shedding its old timeline. Are you feeling a tightness in your chest or anxiety when around certain people? It is not a panic attack. It is an angelic caution detecting their toxic energy. By romanticizing pain and physical discomfort as evidence of divine transformation, this narrative actively discourages individuals from seeking genuine help. If your insomnia is actually a divine download from heaven, you will not consult a doctor. If your social isolation is framed as a necessary protection of your sacred fire, you will not seek the community or therapy you desperately need. Furthermore, this tactic breeds a profound sense of paranoia and isolation. The script explicitly commands the viewer, "Be careful who borrows your items. Do not let them near again," and warns that even a compliment from a woman contains darkness in her words. It teaches the viewer to view everyone around them with suspicion, cutting off real-world support systems. When you are alienated from your friends, suspicious of your family, and ignoring your medical needs in favor of spiritual detoxing, you become entirely dependent on one single source of validation: the online spiritual community. You are now perfectly primed, isolated, and loyal. The trap has closed, and the real extraction is about to begin. To successfully bypass a viewer's critical thinking, a spiritual marketing script must speak a very specific language. It cannot rely on concrete, verifiable facts, because facts can be debunked. Instead, it employs a meticulously crafted lexicon of pseudo-scientific and mystical jargon. Listen to the recurring terminology. Your body is a spiritual receiver. You are undergoing an activation of divine protection. Your DNA holds dormant codes, and your vibration is shifting. These words are not chosen randomly. They are designed to create an intellectual smokescreen. By combining scientific-sounding terms, frequency, molecules, DNA, data, with spiritual concepts, divine, angelic, realms, prophecy, the script creates a hybrid language that sounds incredibly profound, but is fundamentally meaningless in any empirical sense. Psychologically, this creates a barrier against logical scrutiny. If a doctor tells you that the pain in your spine is due to a herniated disc, you can request an MRI to verify it. But if a voice on the internet tells you that your spine is receiving divine data, and that angels are marking it with unseen symbols, how do you disprove that? You cannot. Because the premise exists entirely outside the realm of evidence, your brain's logical filter simply gives up and allows the information to pass through unquestioned. This linguistic fog ensures that the creator is never held accountable for the claims they are making. Even with a mystical vocabulary, a script needs a credible messenger. If a random anonymous content creator tells you that your life is about to change, your natural skepticism will likely block the message. So, the creator doesn't speak for themselves. They hijack a higher authority. Notice how the script repeatedly frames its most outrageous claims. Archangel Michael says, or heaven insists you see this. This is a psychological manipulation tactic known as authority hijacking. By putting their words into the mouth of Archangel Michael, a universally recognized archetype of ultimate protection, truth, and spiritual warfare, the creator instantly adopts an unearned, unchallengeable authority. They are no longer a YouTuber asking for likes. They are a divine conduit, delivering an urgent cosmic decree. Viewers who grew up with any form of religious or spiritual conditioning, questioning this voice feels inherently wrong. To doubt, the video is framed not as healthy skepticism, but as a lack of faith, or worse, a rejection of divine protection. The script weaponizes the viewer's own spirituality against them, forcing their logical mind to bow to ingrained religious obedience. Beyond the words themselves, the true power of these videos lies in how they are delivered. The auditory experience is engineered to induce a state of heightened suggestibility, bordering on a mild hypnotic trance. Throughout these videos, you will hear a continuous loop of ambient music, often marketed as solfeggio frequencies or healing sounds, like 432 Hz or 528 Hz. While these sounds are undeniably relaxing, their sustained, droning nature serves a specific neurological purpose. They help shift the brain's electrical activity from active, alert beta waves down into slower alpha or theta waves. In this relaxed state, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for critical analysis and logical doubt, is significantly suppressed. Once the brain's defenses are lowered by the music, the spoken script functions as a rhythmic chant. The sentence structures are intentionally short, repetitive, and poetic. Your tears are not just emotional. When you cry, angels use your tears to bless your body. Your breath is sacred now. Your lungs are syncing with the divine rhythm of the earth. This constant, rhythmic pacing creates a cognitive loop. It lulls the listener into a state of passive reception. The repetition of the word "your," followed by a positive affirmation, acts as a psychological anchor. Before your brain has the time to process and question the absurdity of one claim, the soothing voice has already moved on to the next comforting promise. By the time the script suddenly introduces a command such as "type Amen to get blessing 777, the viewer's mind is entirely pliable. They are no longer analyzing the video, they are simply obeying the rhythm. The hypnotic cadence has successfully bypassed the firewall of the mind, leaving the viewer primed, vulnerable, and completely ready for the final phase, the commercial extraction. By the time we reach the final act of the video, the psychological groundwork has been flawlessly laid. The viewer has been read, validated, frightened, protected, and hypnotized. They are floating in a state of manufactured spiritual euphoria. Now, the creator cashes in. But in the digital economy, the first currency extracted is not money, it is data, in the form of engagement. Throughout the script, the creator deploys an aggressive sequence of micro-CTAs, calls to action. Every few paragraphs, the soothing voice interrupts the narrative with a strict command. Type Amen to get blessing 333, type Amen to get blessing 417, or type Amen to get blessing 777. To the unsuspecting viewer, typing Amen feels like a digital prayer, a harmless, necessary step to physically claim the divine protection they have just been promised. The script explicitly warns that the viewer must comment below to accept their full body protection, effectively holding their spiritual safety hostage to a keyboard stroke. Later, it reinforces this by demanding the viewer to write specific phrases like, "My miracle is here," to make the blessing official and take ownership of it. However, to the YouTube or TikTok algorithm, these comments are not prayers, they are pure, high-octane fuel. Social media algorithms are completely blind to context. They do not care if a video is about quantum physics, cooking, or Archangel Michael. They only measure user retention and engagement velocity. When a video successfully tricks thousands of people into repeatedly typing Amen the algorithm registers it as a highly viral, deeply engaging piece of content. Consequently, the algorithm acts as a digital evangelist, automatically pushing the video onto the feeds of millions of other vulnerable, exhausted users. The viewers, typing "Amen," believe they are securing a blessing for themselves, but in reality, they are acting as unpaid marketing agents, expanding the creator's reach and actively helping to reel in the next batch of targets. This relentless engagement farming serves a secondary, deeply manipulative psychological purpose known as the foot in the door technique. In behavioral psychology, if you want someone to agree to a large request, like giving you money, you first get them to agree to a very small, effortless request, like typing a four-letter word. By repeatedly asking the viewer to type "Amen" to claim varying numerological blessings from 111 to 999, the script trains the viewer to obey. It builds a subconscious pattern of compliance. You are no longer passively watching. You are actively following instructions. Once the viewer has complied with the small requests 10 or 20 times, their psychological resistance to the creator is practically non-existent. They have already invested in the interaction. This makes the transition to the ultimate goal, the macro CTA, seamless and highly effective. As the video nears its end, the ambient music swells and the true commercial architecture of the chosen one narrative is finally unveiled. The creator moves from harvesting engagement to harvesting cash. The script softly suggests, if you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks with contributions of up to $1.20. This request is strategically repeated multiple times throughout the latter half of the video. Notice the precise, low-barrier amount. Asking for $1.20 doesn't trigger the financial alarm bells that a $50 request would. It feels like tossing a coin into a wishing well. Yet, when scaled across millions of views artificially generated by the Amen comments, these micro-donations accumulate into massive, untraceable revenue streams for anonymous channels. But the super thanks is just the tip of the iceberg. The final, most aggressive push is designed to move the viewer off the public platform and into a private, monetized ecosystem. The script urgently warns the viewer, do not let this sacred moment of destiny pass you by, and instructs them to join a prophetic community via an exclusive link pinned in the comments. This is a textbook digital marketing sales funnel, wrapped in the guise of divine intervention. Top of funnel, awareness. The algorithm serves the video to a vulnerable user. Middle of funnel, consideration, engagement. The user is hypnotized by cold reading, ego stroking, and is trained to comply by typing "Amen." Bottom of funnel, conversion. The user pays a super thanks or clicks the pinned link to join a private group. Once inside this exclusive community, the monetization deepens. The script promises that joining is the fastest way to ensure they never miss direct personalized messages. In reality, these private groups, often hosted on platforms like Patreon or Telegram, require monthly subscription fees. Here, creators can upsell expensive energy clearing sessions, personalized tarot readings, or high-ticket manifestation courses. The tragic irony of this entire ecosystem is that it preys on people seeking relief from the material burdens of the world, only to subject them to one of the most aggressive, hyper-capitalist extraction models on the internet. They are sold the illusion of divine abundance, while the only true abundance being generated flows directly into the creator's bank account. We have walked through a labyrinth together. We have dissected how the online, spiritual marketing machine uses cold reading to fake empathy, manufactures invisible enemies to exploit our primal fears, and weaponizes hypnotic language to extract engagement for profit. But as the digital illusion fades, we must face a sobering reality. That soothing voice in the dark is not a guardian angel. It is a meticulously calculated script. There is no shadowy figure lighting black candles to drain your energy, just as there is no life-altering miracle waiting to be activated by typing a 3-digit number into a comment section. Feeling a sense of loss or disappointment when this illusion shatters is a completely natural psychological response. When you are drained by the friction and pressures of daily life, the promise of an effortless, magical rescue is incredibly seductive. True empowerment, however, requires us to recognize the boundary between genuine self-growth and a fleeting algorithmic dopamine hit. The core danger of the chosen one narrative is that it hijacks our natural desire for growth and twists it into passive digital submission. It reprograms our behavior, teaching us to surrender our agency to a glowing screen. Through the lens of behavioral science and psychology, we understand that authentic healing is rarely glamorous, and it certainly does not happen overnight. Structural psychological recovery does not come from a mysterious vibrational frequency automatically realigning your DNA while you sleep. It comes from the difficult, courageous work of neuroplasticity, a slow, intentional process of rewiring the brain's neural networks through consistent daily effort. True healing is sitting down with a mental health professional and confronting the dark, thorny roots of your anxiety, rather than easily blaming it on a coworker's toxic energy. It is the practice of setting healthy boundaries in relationships, instead of labeling everyone who upsets you as an energy vampire and retreating into an isolated echo chamber. It is learning to embrace your physical and emotional vulnerabilities with evidence-based self-compassion, rather than hiding them behind a delusional mask of supernatural invincibility. The spiritual industry promises that you are a perfect, sacred vessel constantly under attack by a hostile world. But real internal strength lies in accepting this truth. You are a human being with beautiful flaws, fully capable of learning, adapting, and finding peace amidst a profoundly complex reality. This brings us to the most crucial question: what do we do now? How do we reclaim our minds from the engagement farming machines and the hypnotic rhythms of endless content loops? The answer begins with the single most powerful act of defiance against any algorithm: put the phone down. If you are carrying a heavy burden, do not hand it over to anonymous content creators who view your pain merely as a monetizable metric. Bring that vulnerability into the light of the real world. Seek out licensed mental health professionals who can equip you with actual tools for cognitive restructuring and emotional regulation. Invest your time in building real-life human connections where empathy is fostered through trust and shared experiences, not simulated by a voiceover script. If you want to create genuine change in your life, look away from the glowing screen and look deeply and honestly within yourself. The path to self-mastery is not found in an exclusive link pinned in the comments, nor does it require a financial donation. It is built step by step, through resilience, self-awareness, and a courageous commitment to face the real world on your own 2 feet. You do not need a mystical code to be valuable. You do not need an algorithm to validate your existence, and you certainly do not need to type a word to claim your own power. You have always possessed it. Now, it is time to step out of the labyrinth, turn off the screen, and truly begin to live.